This is the fourth section of our lecture. Now we are going to talk about the diagnosis of GB syndrome. In this section, we will talk about the CSF findings and other lab findings. What are the diagnosis guidelines and the case studies, and what are the differential diagnosis of GB syndrome? First of all, we will talk about the CSF findings. Elevated CSF protein level of 1 to 10 grams per liter or 100 to 1000 milligrams per deciliter without accompanying pleocytosis. Often normal when symptoms have been present for up to 48 hours. These are elevated by the end of first week. And there is a transient increase in CSF white cell count from 10 to 100 per microliter. If there are risk factors for HIV are present, or if the patient if there is CSF pleocytosis, we should get a serologic test for HIV. If there is sustained CSF pleocytosis, it suggests an alternative diagnosis such as a viral myelitis, because in case of GBS, there is no accompanying pleocytosis. There might be a concurrent diagnosis such as an unrecognized HIV infection, leukemia or lymphoma with infiltration of nerves, or neurosarcoidosis that is causing the sustained CSF pleocytosis. In case of acute inflammatory demyelinating polyneuropathy, what are the electrophysiologic findings? The earliest features are prolonged F-wave latencies. Now, what are the latencies? Basically, it is the stimulus that is damaging the nerve until the response. So, the F-wave latencies are prolonged. The distal latencies are also prolonged, and the distal latencies are basically that stimulus which is affecting the distal side of the nerve. And there are reduced amplitudes of compound muscle action potentials. The late features in case of acute inflammatory demyelinating polyneuropathy include slowing of conduction velocity, there will be conduction block, temporal dispersion, and snaps normal in feet, for example, in case of sural nerve, but it will be abnormal in arms. Snaps is basically sensory nerve action potentials that are normal in case of feet but abnormal in arms. And there will be length-dependent polyneuropathies. If we talk about the primary axonal pathology or the axonal variants, the principal electrodiagnostic finding is reduced amplitude of compound muscle action potentials and also sensory nerve action potentials with in case of acute motor sensory axonal neuropathy. Without conduction, slowing or prolongation of the distal latencies can be found in case of primary axonal pathology. The diagnosis of AIDP is recognized by the pattern of rapidly evolving paralysis with areflexia, absence of fever or other systemic symptoms, and characteristic antecedent events. Now, in 2011, the Brighton collaboration developed a new set of case definitions for GBS. Why they developed a new set of case definitions? In response to needs of epidemiologic studies for vaccination and assessing the risk of GBS. So there are clinical case definitions for GBS and for Miller-Fisher syndrome as well. There are 3 levels of diagnostic certainty. The level 1, so there are certain points which are similar in all the 3 levels. As there is bilateral and flaccid weakness of the limbs in all the levels. We can found decreased or absent deep tendon reflexes in weak limbs. There will be monophasic illness pattern and interval between onset and nadir of weakness between 12 hours and 28 days and subsequent clinical plateau. The electrophysiologic findings will be consistent with GBS in case of level 1 of the diagnostic certainty. The cytoalbuminologic dissociation, that is elevation of the CSF protein level above normal value, and the CSF total white cell count will be up to 50 cells per microliter, and there will be absence of an identified alternative diagnosis for weakness. This is the level 1 of diagnostic certainty. The level 2 of diagnostic certainty is almost similar, except for the fact that the CSF total white cell count will be 50 cells per microliter with or without CSF protein elevation above normal value, or if the CSF is not collected or the results are not available, electrophysiologic studies should be consistent with GBS. This is level 2 of diagnostic certainty. And in case of level 3 of diagnostic certainty, there are monophasic illness pattern and interval between onset and nadir of weakness between 12 hours and 28 days and subsequent clinical plateau, and absence of identified alternative diagnosis for weakness without cytoalbuminologic dissociation. So these are the 3 levels of diagnostic certainty for the diagnosis of GBS. Now, if we talk about the clinical case definitions for the diagnosis of MFS, it also has 3 levels of diagnostic certainty. The level 1 of diagnostic certainty constitutes of bilateral ophthalmoparesis and bilateral reduced or absent tendon reflexes and ataxia. There will be absence of limb weakness, monophasic illness pattern and interval between onset and nadir of weakness between 12 hours and 28 days and subsequent clinical plateau. The cytoalbuminologic dissociation, that is elevation of CSF protein level above normal value. CSF total white cell count should be up to 50 cells per microliter. Nerve conduction studies are normal or indicate involvement of sensory nerves only. No alterations in consciousness or corticospinal tract signs, and absence of identified alternative diagnosis. These are the 3 levels of diagnostic certainty for Miller-Fisher syndrome, and they only vary from GBS in the fact that there will be involvement of sensory nerves in case of Miller-Fisher syndrome, and the patient will have ophthalmoparesis and reduced or absent tendon reflexes. If we talk about the differential diagnosis of GB syndrome, there are several diseases that constitute the same signs and symptoms as GB syndrome. It includes acute myelopathy, botulism, diphtheria, especially the early oropharyngeal disturbances. Then there is Lyme disease polyradiculitis, tick-borne paralysis, porphyria. Porphyria will present with abdominal pain, seizures, and psychosis. These are the differentiating points from GBS. There can be vasculitic neuropathy. In that case, we have to check ESR. Poliomyelitis can also present as GB syndrome, but the differentiating point would be fever will be present along with meningeal signs, which are usually absent in case of GB syndrome. West Nile virus, cytomegalovirus polyradiculitis, specifically in immunocompromised patients. There can be brainstem ischemia, critical illness neuropathy, or myopathy. These are all the differential diagnosis, along with myasthenia gravis. But in case of myasthenia, there will be neuromuscular junction disorder, and the pupillary reactivity will be lost early. There can be organophosphate, thallium, or arsenic poisoning, which can also manifest as GB syndrome. Paralytic shellfish poisoning also comes under the differential diagnosis. And severe hypophosphatemia is also included in this category, but it is rare. So how can we differentiate all these diseases from GB syndrome? We perform lab tests to exclude the mimics. The electrodiagnostic features are minimal in case of all these diseases. CSF protein level may not rise until the end of first week, which is the characteristic for GB syndrome, that it rises by the end of the first week. And if we strongly suspect GB syndrome, we can initiate treatment without waiting for the findings. This was all about the diagnosis and the differential diagnosis of GB syndrome. Thank you for watching sqadia.com.